What makes nut butter more nutritious? The only thing I remember of peanut butter is when I was very young and I used to read Dennis the Menace comics.
Yes. So peanut butter actually is because of the peanuts themselves
Mhm.
and the almonds, of course, are extremely nutritious nuts in their own way. So if you eat them, and a lot of us, of course, eat 5 almonds a day, and peanut is a part of the Indian diet in various different forms. It's very high on protein. So peanut butter with bread, for example, gives you all 9 amino acids that you need for a healthy and a kick-started morning. So nuts in general are extremely healthy with good fats, heart healthy, and they're good inclusion to your everyday diet, especially if you're looking to eat healthier and live a fitter lifestyle, which I think all of us are.
Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. If you're new to our podcast, please consider subscribing to it and hit the bell icon so that you never miss an update. Our episodes go live at 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. every day. I am your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm privileged to have a very exciting and young entrepreneur, Surabhi Talwar. Surabhi, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Surabhi is the co founder and CEO of Happy Jars Private Limited. She's a marketing and branding expert, and she's worked with Unilever, Titan, Wildcraft, and Fab India. So, Surabhi, let's start talking about Happy Jars. Tell me about this venture.
So it started in 2016, 17, end of
Mhm.
2016. It was actually started by my husband and partner, Vikram, who's an avid horse rider, and he was an equestrian national champion. So protein and healthy eating was always a part of his everyday.
Mhm.
And he used to eat peanut butter from when he was in school, but decided to start eating more of it because of the protein content. And then looked at the back of pack one day of what he was eating and realized that there was ingredients in there that he didn't really need,
Okay.
and they were adding to his not so healthy parts. So he decided to make his own recipe at home, and that's where the brand began. So it was a grew from our kitchen onwards.
Okay.
It's a brand of natural health food. So we're into right now. We have a large range of nut butters, which includes peanut butter, almond butter, and cashew butter.
Mhm.
And the idea is that we use no added oils and no preservatives. So it's healthy. It's got good for you ingredients. And now, of course, we're a national brand looking to scale. Recently funded as well. So from small to kind of medium size right now.
Wonderful. And what makes nut butter more nutritious? The only thing I remember of peanut butter is when I was very young and I used to read Dennis the Menace comics.
Yes. So peanut butter actually is because of the peanuts themselves
Mhm.
and the almonds, of course, are extremely nutritious nuts in their own way. So if you eat them, and a lot of us, of course, eat 5 almonds a day, and peanut is a part of the Indian diet in various different forms. It's very high on protein. So peanut butter with bread, for example, gives you all 9 amino acids that you need for a healthy and a kick-started morning. So nuts in general are extremely healthy with good fats, heart healthy, and they're good inclusion to your everyday diet, especially if you're looking to eat healthier and live a fitter lifestyle, which I think all of us are.
Hmm. Very interesting. And my question to you is that from an Indian perspective, from Indian psyche perspective, we are always used to butter made from milk or
Yes.
milk products. Um, what have you been able to do to make them change this very old habit?
So I think we don't compete with butter per se, unlike the West, where it became an option to butter and it started becoming a thing you spread on toast. I think in India, it's very difficult to change habits that are related to food. We're very passionate about food as a culture.
Yes.
So at Happy Jars, we don't try and change the habit.
Mm.
What we are doing very aggressively is trying to educate people about the health benefits of the nuts. So, for
Mm.
example, the protein in the peanuts or the protein in the almonds as well, and the fact that you are eating 5 of them every day, but
Mm.
you could mix up the format by having a spoonful of almond butter or put it in your oatmeal, for example. So, for us, the education is more about why you need nuts every day.
Mm.
The advantage to us is also that in India, over the last 5 to 7 years, health and fitness has really kicked off. I think we started the business 4 years back at a time when we were riding the crest of this wave, and we managed to stick on top of that and become relevant as a brand within this category. So
Mm.
peanut butter is actually one of the fastest growing categories in the health food space. And today, the peanut butter market in India is growing at 35%. which is faster than a lot of the other food brands. Even health food categories like makhanas and other snacks are slightly slower than this. So we've not really, luckily for us, had to do too much education versus butter, but it is a category that's taking time for people to adjust to. I think in peanut butter, it's an acquired taste,
Correct.
and in almond butter, it's a completely new product. So we actually have to tell people how to eat it and why it's good for you. And a secret, I actually eat my peanut butter on butter. So it's like butter, then peanut butter. Yeah. So we're trying to build a separate, almost a separate usage occasion for
Hmm.
nut butters.
Very interesting. So you're a marketer. I mean, you work with all the top marketing companies.
Really.
My
Yeah.
question to you, Surabhi, is what goes into building a successful health food brand?
Oh, so much and so many sleepless nights. I think
Agree.
the hardest decision at Happy Jars is that we chose to build a brand and not just have a product out on the shelves. So from day one, and I think of course it's to do with our backgrounds, and both Vikram and I are both marketers and branders, and we like creating things of value. We chose that we wanted Happy Jars to be a name that sits in the middle of your dining table and makes people proud of being a brand that we consume. When we entered this market, we did a lot of consumer research and spoke to thousands of people and realized that they don't know the brand of the peanut butter they're eating, even if they are eating it. So it was a challenge that we picked up, saying we are going to have people who know Happy Jars and who will know that they're eating a Happy Jars and not some other thing, right? There was like syllables that they would say, "Acha, haan, something wo kuch
Mm,
tha,"
mm,
but not remember the name. So we wanted to be the brand they remembered. It took a lot of commitment from day one because it involved everything from packaging, pricing decisions, the focus we had on social media, the costs that we chose to undertake on day one were all linked to trying to build a brand. The storytelling aspect, while it's very exciting in India, is also something that makes you a little niche, I think, because the number of people listening to your story are perhaps fewer than they are in the Western countries.
mm.
For us, what it's meant to try and build a successful brand is to commit from day one to that, make certain strategic decisions based on that, and then not waver.
Okay.
So, packaging, for example, was intended to make Happy Jars stand out on a cluttered retail shelf.
Mm.
It was about calling out natural straight up front. So, our jars actually say 100% natural on the front. Um, it was about the fact that we focused on day one from the photography and the imagery that we had on social media. And we worked with people who are experts at creating the most delicious looking shots with our product, right? So we
Yeah.
positioned ourselves as a brand from day one. But I think continuous focus on storytelling and the consumer.
Mm.
It is absolutely the center of everything that we do is how will people react to this and what will they think?
Very interesting. And you did mention a little while ago that you rode the crest of healthy foods,
Right.
but it takes us as Indians a lot of mental strength to move to healthy foods.
Yeah.
We still slip back to our puri and our bhaturas and whatever else and heavy food. So, what are the challenges you have been facing of getting Indians
Mhm.
to start accepting healthy eating?
It takes me back to us being sure that changing habits is not the way to win.
Mhm.
Kellogg's is an example that gets cited very often to us, and it's a brand that's tried to change from regular Indian khana, so to speak, to cornflakes for the longest time, and now they have their own upma and poha. So,
Yeah.
changing habits is not what we're intending to do. So, healthy eating is something that people are becoming more conscious of. But, like you said, it's difficult, and I think it's a very difficult ask to say, leave your breakfast or what you're used to eating at snack time and switch to a peanut butter, and here's why it's good for you. It was the long journey that I think green tea took when they were starting to tell people to eat, drink. And I think apple cider vinegar is trying to do that right now to a lot of people in the health space as well. It's a hard journey because you have to explain yourself many times over to a person. But what we've also realized is that, and I think it's true for the world, actually, it's not really India, there's a spectrum, so you can either be really purist and say no sugar.
Correct.
I don't want to have sugar. I don't want to have any sweetener, which is where our unsweetened range kind
Yeah.
of fits in.
Mm.
And then you have people who are like, I love my chocolate. Let's be honest. I want to eat my ice cream. But if I could eat it a little less guiltily,
Mhm.
I would probably eat it a little more. So the way that we designed the range was actually intended to assist good eating habits.
Mm.
So the unsweetened and the jaggery sweetened peanut butters came first. And the unsweetened removed the sugar completely. So it's just pure peanuts. And that's for people who were already at the health, they didn't need convincing
Mm.
on the health bit.
Mm.
The jaggery was intended to tell someone, look, you like peanut butter and your trainer is telling you to eat it, but you want a sugar free version. If you can't adjust to the unsweetened taste, here's a jaggery version for you. The dark chocolates and what we now have as a for me, it's a personal pride to have a chili chutney peanut butter in the range.
Wow.
These three products, so there's a dark chocolate peanut butter, almond butter, and a chili chutney peanut butter. They were intended to do exactly what you said, which is get people to switch slightly to healthier without giving up on the taste that they're used to. So the dark chocolates actually came about with us saying, chocolate trying to be healthier is trying to reduce sugar. So
Mm.
they'll use fake sugars, they'll use other ways to reduce fat. What we did was we started with the nuts and we said, okay, how much can you pack in as nuts alone? And then what do you need to add as a flavor to make it tasty? So we added in 20%, which is dark chocolate and jaggery. So again, we kept it healthy. But if you're looking for a chocolate taste, that's what you need to have. So we're not saying don't eat the chocolate. We're saying eat chocolate, but eat a healthier version of it. So I think nudging in that direction rather than asking someone to switch over. And again, with the chili chutney, actually, we realized that Indians eat spicy and hot breakfast 85% of the time.
Correct.
In a 7-day week, you're going to eat Indian breakfast 5 days and maybe peanut butter 2 days. But
Mm.
like, we don't want to miss out on those 5 days. So the chili chutney was intended to add protein to your regular Indian khana. So it's like your South Indian flavor. It went on to your idlis, goes on to dosas with poha, eggs on toast. So yeah, we've tried to strategically align to the way Indians eat. And again, that comes back to our branding and marketing background because consumer is center of everything.
Absolutely. I was just going to ask you. I think you already answered the question because I'm going to say that I've started seeing cheeses,
Mhm.
which is a green chutney cheese and jalapeno cheese, and there's 6, 7 different variants. I was going to ask you, but that's a fantastic brand extension that you're doing.
Thank you.
Quite amazing.
Really well. It's got a lot of attention from people. I think people have realized that we're trying to take protein to a non-sweet space in India.
Amazing. Yeah, that's fantastic. I'm going to order one. And
Please.
I'm going to try it out. So, let me come back now to your, expertise in marketing, and ask you a question that for how are brands managing this incredibly complex digital world that they are now having to survive in? I'm much, much older. When I was growing up,
Mhm.
it was, the cinema hall, the newspaper, and television was coming in.
Mhm.
But now it's all over the place.
Yeah. I think the world has really changed. I mean, I remember when I started my first email. I remember when I started my Facebook account. I think there'll be generations beyond us who will just not remember because
Yeah.
now there are parents who are starting their children's Facebook accounts already. So I think it's actually been a transition for us as well. I actually handled Fast Tracks Digital when I was working on the brand, and that's how recently, let me say, maybe as recently as 15, 10 years ago, that my own digital journey started, and it's mind-boggling the pace at which things have changed.
Mm.
From a business perspective, I think the way that it's helpful to look at it is to say that it's not a different channel. It's just a different way of life.
Mm.
I think digital has become so second nature that now you don't realize the difference between what is physical and what is digital. So a direct to consumer brand, which is what we are to a large extent, kind of lives and breathes between your screens. Even when you look at grocery stores now, you shop from grocery stores from your screen because that's what you're doing with a big basket and an Amazon. So it's really been a mind shift change. We've tried as Happy Jars, of course, to make sure that we are present where our consumers are present.
Mhm.
So we've taken calls, for example, to not expand into 36 different online partners because it's not about being present everywhere just because you can be.
Mm.
It is still about being present where your customer is present, but it's just that the customer has now moved to a digital medium. So I
Mhm.
think if you keep that perspective, it's definitely a doable thing to be digitally relevant.
Okay. And you spoke about one or two of the e-commerce platforms, but again, traditionally, brands like Happy Jars would have a huge amount of money you would be spending on distribution to make
Right.
sure that your product is available across multiple stores. How have these large e-commerce platforms, whether it's an Amazon or a Big Basket or a Flipkart or so many others, how they beginning to change the way you're thinking about your brand?
Um, what we've done is taken the thinking from the consumer's perspective and then applied that to the channels. So if a customer usually shops for their peanut butter when they're shopping for their milk, bread, and eggs, then we know that that's where we need to be because that's the mind space. We also had so that of course during the years we've experimented with various different things. So we used to go to these events when before Corona was even a thing,
Mhm.
and we realized that music festivals, though they had a lot of footfall, weren't necessarily the best place for food to sell because your mindset isn't about food shopping or health
Mm.
food or tasting something new. It's about the beer and the music.
Correct.
And the same way, I think there are certain platforms that are built better for grocery items, and we make sure that we position ourselves there.
Okay.
For us, we've committed to retail actually, and it is an extremely expensive and difficult exercise for a brand so young. But we started in retail literally a year after. In fact, our journey into being a business began with retail. So we listed in Delhi in about now we're about 150 stores, but we listed in the first 30, and we realized that retail actually became 70% of our sales.
Wow.
And that's because we got this really good mix of being present where the customer is thinking about food.
Mm.
And so we just use that same strategy to go across the other channels as well. I think what's happened is that, of course, now in the last year, it's been accelerated because you cannot go out. But what was happening was that people were looking online for things that they found different to their regular chawal, atta, and roti. So if
Mm.
you look at our category as peanut butter, actually, it sells 3x more on online as a percentage contribution to
Wow.
grocery than it does on offline. So it just goes to show that people are actually searching for this category more on online channels than they are on offline channels. I think because the discovery has moved to online.
Amazing.
And so these are the kind of trends that we're trying to pick up on and make sure that we're present where the customer is shopping. So we're still in retail and we will continue to be. We've had to be sensible about it because of the pandemic, but we are also looking to make sure that we're in the places online where people search for us.
Amazing. Amazing. So I'm going to now move to the next segment of our conversation, which are some questions for you personally.
Right.
My first question to you is that what would you say are 3 key milestones in your life or your career?
Oh, wow. 3 key milestones. So let's start with the most recent one. I became a mum about a year and a half ago.
Oh,
Uh,
congratulations.
Thank you. It feels like forever, but it's been pretty recent. So that I think is a huge milestone. And I think that marked a big change in the way I've approached work and the way that I've had to manage kind of life. Still grappling with that. Never an easy day. But that was a big one. And I think the one before that, of course, was choosing to leave the corporate life and jump into entrepreneurship.
Mhm.
It took me a long time to get used to that decision. I think for the first 6 months, I was like, "Why did you do it? What is wrong with you? Go back." And it took me 6 months even just to think that maybe I could do it. So I think that's definitely a big one. And prior to that, I think it was being able to go abroad for my education. So I became independent forcibly at a very, very young age.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And my next question is that for someone building a food brand, what are some of the core values you believe in?
Um, the idea behind Happy Jars, I think, comes from us as founders. Behind any entrepreneurship comes from the founders first. So I think there's two things that we've believed in, and being husband and wife running the company, I think it's also what binds us together.
Mm.
One is hard work,
Mm.
and the other is honesty.
Mm.
Uh, the honesty bit, I think, comes first because we realized that in the space of health food, particularly, there's a lot of marketing that you need to read around. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, every company is doing that because they are healthier, but how do you pitch it, right? So as a marketer, I completely understand how that happens. But I think the honesty in terms of what you are actually putting in to your ingredients, how you're creating that product. And for us, it's very clear that our daughter eats all our nut butters, right? So I am as careful as a mother can be about the nutrition that goes into
Correct.
it when we're manufacturing it. So honesty in ingredients, honesty in to the extent that we wanted so much surety on what was going into the ingredients that we ride on another brand's trust. So we use branded ingredients, which has a huge impact on our cost.
Mhm.
But she choose to take that because we want someone else to also say that yes, we're honest about what we're doing. And I think branding does that to a lot of commoditized goods. So honesty as a value is something we hold dear, which transfers to Happy Jars
Mhm.
as well. As a team also, I've been telling my any new recruits that join Happy Jars that you make 1,000 mistakes and that's fine. I make the biggest mistakes every day,
Mhm.
uh, but as long as you come out and say it and come clean and deal with it, I think that is a value that we really want to build into the company. The second one would be hard work, and we were not in our 20s when we started Happy Jars. We were both in our 30s, and we left very cushy, nice jobs with people bringing us tea and coffee.
Yeah.
To literally become like the jamadars of the office. And it took every bit of commitment to continue to do that. So I think hard work is something that we really both believe in. And we believe that these are the years when we will struggle, and we will have to have sleepless nights and manage a family and a business. But that going forward, that is exactly how we want to build our lives. So those two values, I think, were very, very close to us.
Fantastic. And a follow-up question to that is, from where you are in life today, what does success mean to Surabhi?
So hard. um, Success to me today, I think, is just being able to enjoy the moment without worrying. Uh, I sound so old when I say that. I sound like I've become my full 35 years of age. No, but I think over the last maybe 3 years, we've been through so much of a roller coaster of up and down in terms of emotions and startup and not and work. And success used to always mean getting funded. And now we are funded. We got our first round a couple of weeks back. And then suddenly the definition of success changed because I was like, oh shit, now we have all this money. Now we have to actually grow the business.
I know.
I think if you allow it, the stress just keeps coming back to you and gets bigger and bigger. So I think for me right now, if I can take the time out every evening to just sit and relax at home and play a game or chill with our baby, that is a big deal. So I think if I could do that going forward every night of my life, regardless of where I am, how much I'm making, and how successful the company is, I'll be very, very happy.
Fantastic. My next question to you is on failure. And I've often said that parents in India, which includes me as well as a parent, don't teach children it's okay to fail. We're always taught come first in class, go to the head of the line, etc. And that manifests itself in our behavior patterns.
Right.
Yet we fail, and you just mentioned that you make mistakes.
Yeah.
My question to you, Surabhi, is what have been your learnings from some of your mistakes?
So I think my perspective towards failure has perhaps been drilled into me by the way my parents dealt with me when I was growing up. And their point has always been you make a decision and you make it for yourself. And as long as you're willing to take responsibility for what happens, that decision is yours. And when I was younger, of course, as parents, you help your kid to make that decision. But from, I think, even when I was maybe 15, 16, I was kind of left to my own devices to do what I'm doing. But it's always about knowing that there's something better waiting for you. So I think I've always had eternal hopeful. Me has always said that if something goes bad today and it's not according to plan, it'll be better tomorrow. I think the perspective on failure for me is also changed to become that I judge failure and success based on what the outcome is, right? And there's a book that I read which is about written by one of the most famous poker players in the world, who talks about how the bet is a bet. And you take a bet based on certain decisions, and depending on whether it worked out or didn't, you'd call that a bad bet or a good bet, which doesn't work that way.
Correct.
So I think for us, failure is about being able to take that plunge, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. So I've changed my perspective on a lot of things basis maybe the last 4 years of decisions based on careers and things like that. So as long as you can look towards the next day and know that tomorrow is not a failure, and it's an opportunity. I know it sounds very cliche to say that every failure is an opportunity, but if you really force yourself to see it that way, which is the hard part, I think it's a learning experience.
Terrific. And my last question, Surabhi, this is for thousands of people who will listen to everything that you are saying. What would your advice be to a young individual who's starting off on her or his journey as an entrepreneur?
Well, there's this line that I fell in love with this Facebook page actually, which is around motherhood. And I think my experience of becoming a mum was very similar to how I also felt when I was becoming an entrepreneur.
Mm.
There's things that are happening around you and things that you're doing which are not always in your control. And if you wait to be in control, it'll just slip past you. So a lot of entrepreneurship is about just committing and saying, you know what, I'm going to try this. And to your previous question, if it fails, that's an opportunity for me to do something different and better next time.
Sure.
But it's about trying it. And I think where we don't give enough importance to talking about things is when we realize that, you know, you're not going to be cut out for it from day one. You're going to have to learn along the way. But this one line which stuck with me is, you've got this. So there's a page called Motherly on Facebook, and every video that they tell you about, at the end of it, they say, you've got this, because you do. Your decision, you've chosen to go into entrepreneurship. It will be really hard, and you will be crying into your pillow many nights, and there'll be amazing success as well. But just know that you have the skill and the confidence to do your best. And if it doesn't work out, to do something else. But if it does work out, to know that you are the only person that got you there.
Fantastic.
So you've got this.
What an amazing message to so many people. So we thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure speaking to you and to understand from you what an amazing journey Happy Jars has started on. And I'm sure it'll be really, really good. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for your time, Mr.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.